Hopefully you've already done the basic navigation course. So what you see today will not be your first introduction to Oracle Cloud. If it is, we'll try to go slow and answer your questions along the way. Let me see. Here's our agenda for today. The next few minutes, we're going to cover these items, and it's going to be really fairly short, so that should allow plenty of time for questions. Let's start with introductions. Let's start with the AST team.
Hi all, my name is Srikanth Raghavendran, and I've been working with the city team for 9 months now. It was a good experience getting to know the current way of working, and I'm sure you all will love Oracle Cloud and the approvals, particularly with all the capabilities. Over to you, Rona.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rona Gianco, one of the AST consultants. We've been working on this project for several months now, and we're really excited to be rolling it out finally. So happy that everyone's on the call today.
And I'm Vicki. I'm the interim purchasing director. Debbie.
Hello, this is Debbie. I am the Deputy Director of Purchasing. Good morning, everyone.
And Debbie has been so involved in this. Really thankful for her help during this, and for Shri and Rona. All right, for some reason my slide didn't move. There we go. So everybody has spent the last year on all kinds of remote meetings, whether it's Zoom or Google. If you've been doing AST, you've been on all of these WebEx. So this is just a really quick reminder to please give us your full attention. Like I said, we're going to try to keep this really short, and this is the one and only training for approvals. So please, please, please pay attention. Mute your mic when you're not speaking, and please take advantage of the chat. Maybe you're not like me, but if I don't write it down when I think about it, it's out of sight. So please enter your chat questions, and we will try to answer those at the end. Does anybody have questions so far? Okay, we'll take that as no. So what's new? If you did the navigation training, you saw that there's a single sign-on instead of having to change your password every, 3 months? So this is a really nice feature for especially for your requisitions. You're going to get an email notification in addition to a system notification, which will be really helpful if you're out and about and need to do something quickly. One of the huge changes as far as the finance budget team is this time, when you enter a requisition, it is going to reduce your available budget. So that is a huge change. It will be a great tool for managing budget, but it's just a different way of thinking. As far as approvals, you've been seeing requisitions during your tenure with the city. We're going to have 2 things on purchase orders that you're going to see now. You'll see a change order. Currently, change orders only go to the CFO pool on your purchase orders. You will be seeing those. And also, even if your purchase order turns out more than your requisition, you don't see those. So in the new system, you will see a purchase order if it turns out to be more than the requisition that you approved. Any questions on what's new? Okay, I'm going to hop off of there and go over. This should look familiar if you did the navigation training. This is what we're talking about, single sign-on. You go to your bookmarked Oracle, and all you do is click on your single sign-on. Easy peasy, right? I'm going to get out because I'm not going to do the approvals today. Like I said, Eric's going to be doing all the work. So I'm going to log in as Eric. Okay, this is what your approval screen will look like. The thing that you really need to look for is this icon up in the top. See that bell? And Eric has 3 notifications that need his attention. So we're going to click on the bell. and that's going to show all of his notifications. The first one we're going to work on is the one that everybody's going to see frequently, and that's approve a requisition. And it's really clear that it says it's a requisition. If you are looking at the slide deck, you'll see there's a great big X over approve. Do not approve from here. You need to actually look at it. So we're going to click on this hyperlink to take us to the requisition. This is going to show you a really nice summary of your requisition. You see the total amount of the requisition. You see that Lisa's the one who entered it. Here's a really brief description. Here's the requisition itself. We'll come back there. And here's the justification that you're used to seeing. So we're asking the requisitioners to really do a good job of putting, this is why we need this annual maintenance. So as you get used to using the system, if you need more information from your requisitioners, you need to let them know, because they need to have this requisition in the best shape possible when it gets through workflow. It also shows every line, a description of the line, the total amount of the line. If this were a quantity of 10, it would say 10 at 85. So this would be 850. So it gives you, and underneath a charge account. So it gives you a really good view of what's on the requisition. If you scroll down, you can see who's approved it before you, especially if you're one of the areas that has lots of approvals in it. This one you can see went from straight from Lisa to Eric, and it's assigned. It's still waiting on him, and it shows who's coming after you. I'm going to scroll back up here to the top. Okay, please pay attention to this one. Rona had to walk me through because I got totally lost. This part's kind of tricky, or you're going to get frustrated. Do not click on this requisition. You need to right click on the requisition and pick the top. Open a new link. Open a link for a new tab. And that open, if you can see, that opened a new tab up here. And that's where I want to go, is click on that new tab. This is a different view of the requisition. This is everything that's here. It gives you room to, gives you a little bit more view of everything together. If you'll notice, this line number 1 is blue. And here's the distribution, the charge account for that. If I want to see the charge account on line 2, I have to click on line 2. And every time I click, it changes the information below. So if you have reviewed this carefully, you go back up to that tab that you opened and click on the X and close it. Okay, now it looks like we ended back where we started. Yeah, but if you go down to your browser and hover over your browser, you've got an extra window open. So you need to come back and click on that approval window. See what I said? Pay attention, because this part's a little bit tricky. So now if you've carefully reviewed the requisition, you can approve it or reject it. I'm not going to hit approve because I don't want it to go away yet. So we're going to hit reject. I want you to see what happens here. You have the opportunity to put, here's why I'm rejecting it. You can also drag and upload files here. So once you put a clear explanation of why you're rejecting it, you can hit submit. We're going to hit cancel. There's something really nice on this one. You can also go to actions, and if you do the drop down on actions, you can request information. So when you request information, same thing, there's a field you can fill out to say, I don't understand, please explain whatever, or attach your, whatever you need to do, you can put your request information. You can ask for it to come back to you directly and skip everybody, or you can ask it to flow to start at the beginning of workflow and go back to everybody, but it defaults to back to me. One of the things I was questioning was, can I send it to somebody other than Lisa? So you can click on search, and this one is going to take a little bit of time to get used to. but you can go to advanced search and let's see, who can I use? Let's see if we can find Justin Steinman. I had trouble with this one yesterday. So it starts with yes, I can't find it. I worked through this one yesterday and actually did. I think I found it under Justin. That was what it was. It didn't go by last name. There we go. So it looks like it's first name. So that might be a little tricky if they have a different name. You can pick somebody else. And so now your request for information will go to Justin. If you do, did somebody have a question?
I did, Vicky. If you hit that follow the approval workflow, and you might be getting there. What does that do? Because I know sometimes another manager might have a question that we need to get it to them. But what does that do there?
Rona, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it kicks it all the way back to the beginning and follows all the way up to where you are, as if it's starting from scratch.
You
Okay.
are correct.
Okay.
Okay. So okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So if we there's this requisition is coming through and we have a question, we could send it to one person and then they can respond and then it comes back here and I can approve it and it keeps going, right?
Correct.
Or I can have it follow the approval, which means I can either send it to somebody else and say, hey, do you approve this? And then it'll go back through the flow. Is that what the reason for it is? I just was trying to understand.
If you hit the follow approval, it kicks it back to the beginning. So everybody in that approval queue before you that's already approved it will see the additional information.
Okay.
Or
I got you.
if you just need it and you think everybody else is fine with it, just do back to me.
Gotcha. Oh, so I understand. So
Yeah.
So you requested the information, and then once that manager responds, then it's going to kick it back through so everybody can see what that manager responded and said.
If you click follow the requisition flow, everybody in that queue up to you is going to see that.
Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. Sure. So for now,
Hey, Debbie,
yes.
you've got a bunch of questions in the chat. Do you want to review those or do you want to wait?
Let's wait 1 second and then we'll go through questions because I'm having a hard time seeing the chat with my window up. So let's get a little tad further and then I wanted to talk through and I don't have a copy of this one because I didn't want to lose my requisition. If you request more information and I'm going to click out of here, this right here, instead of saying approved requisition, will say action required. It will say information submitted instead of action required. So you can easily see that you've got a response back. And so then you have the same options to open it, to look at the response, to hit approve, reject, or still more information. Okay, what are the questions? And
Okay.
please be easy.
So Christy Creel asked about change orders and Shrikant answered her. Maybe we can wait for that question when we get to the change order portion.
That's the next thing.
Great. So just so you know, her question was, who will see change orders? Is it every step or is it just the administrators?
Okay.
Mecca Anderson asked, the quantity is based on contract, for example, by case or each. Is that correct?
Let's see what we had here. Does it? I'm going to open the requisition. I think
What I was talking to Vicky was on this screen where you're at right now. It's just it's one. But when you answered it early, you answered it after the next screen where when you pull it up there it says each.
It does show you the unit of measure there. Yes.
All it said was one. It say and then next screen and it.
That's why it's good to go beyond the summary and actually right click and open that requisition.
Yeah, and I asked that question like quick before you answered it.
No problem. Just make
And
sure we get your questions answered.
the other question I had in there also is that when it says one, because Head Start cost allocated, so we may
Mhm.
have multiple line items. So when you're looking at that, will it still say one, or will it say like our percentages instead of like 0.5, 0.25 of each? Is that what it would look like with us?
So like this blue line that I've got, I've right clicked and opened the requisition, and here's your distribution. And if you look over here, this is 100%. So they can split the lines. So you would, so if you had like a 75-25, you would have two charge lines, and you'd have 75 on one, 25 on the other.
Thank you.
Sure.
And then Christy Creel had another question. She said, can you hover over the charge account to see the details, or do you just have to know them?
Right there. Did you see what I did?
So I think Vicky, she's expecting in the approval workflow. We see the charge account, but so we will not be able to. The details don't come over there. We have to go into the hyperlink to check them out.
Right.
It's in
this
this
one's
window.
grayed out, so that's not going to do anything. But when I right clicked and opened the new window, let it open, then I could hover over down here. Yeah, let me get down there. I could hover and it shows up on this one. One thing I didn't point out, this particular requisition is against an agreement. In this system, a blanket purchase order is going to be a PA, a purchase agreement. So this would be against a blanket. Just pointing that one out. What else we have, Rona?
Cynthia Patrick asked, is the second screen or tab where the attachments will be?
Ooh, attachments. I didn't look at the attachments. That is a really good question. I looked at the attachments for the inquiry next week. See what we've got.
The requisition, Vicki, they will be able to
Yeah,
see
and I don't know if,
that.
I wonder if this one's got attachments.
Probably not. See, there's attachments. Go back up. See, go back up. It says none. Attachments, none. If there was some, there was a plus there.
Right.
Yeah, if the attachments were there, you would see the links for them, and then those would be clickable too. So I think when you click them, they automatically download.
Yeah, the attachments in this system are really easy to get to.
All right, more questions. Let's see. Christy Creel asks, if you request information, does it still show in your queue?
I'm going to have to kick that one to Rona. Because we didn't play with that functionality a whole lot during our testing. I really don't know.
Yeah, actually, when you request information, it takes it out of your queue.
Until you get it back.
Correct.
Okay.
So my
These are
reasoning for
questions.
asking that, my reasoning for asking that is if requisitioners are trying to figure out where their requisitions are in workflow, now if someone like a budget sends it to Justin Steinman asking for capital approval, it still shows up in budget's queue. So in this case, would it show up in Justin's queue?
Well, the workflow for capital is going to be the whole capital concept is different. I'm hoping that you're going to go to one of the PPM sessions.
Well, I just meant if you ask for,
Yeah.
if, you know, that was just an example.
Yeah. So they will not be sending it to Justin. Justin will be part of capital workflow. I don't know what all's in Eric's queue. You can.
So I think Vicky, the question is like more of if say Christy wants some information from Justin, So then she requests for more information. So Chris, in that case, Justin gets a notification that you have requested for information, and Justin can add his comments and maybe provide some attachments as well, and then send it back to you. So the workflow tracking happens like very closely. So Justin will be able to know that the action is on him. And then when it comes back to you, you will also get an email and a notification that it's on you now.
So if the requisitioner goes in and looks at the history, can they tell that it's now at Justin's, or would it look like it's sitting on Christie's?
Yeah,
So
yeah, it will indicate. Sorry, go ahead, Debbie. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
The requisition is not going to Justin for approval. It's only going to Justin for additional information. It's not requesting his approval. it
So I
doesn't
don't think
change-
it will show up, will it?
No, it doesn't change the workflow. It's just you're requesting it's just like sending an email, but you're doing it within Oracle.
And I did want to point out that, let me go back out to here. I went to all, I went to, well, let me back up. If I went to show all, and then all, and I can see all the things that have been in my queue recently. So it doesn't totally go away, Christy.
Does that answer your question, Christy?
I'm not sure because I'm talking, I do a lot of chasing down requisitions for people when they're like, hey, this hasn't been approved. And now we have that show whose desk it's on.
Yeah,
So-
you can see like the workflow that it was at the beginning of this. When you go to the, let it open. When you go to the inquiry screen, which we'll do next week, you can see where it's sitting. I mean, you can see that it's sitting on Eric's desk, and you'll have that visibility from the inquiry.
Okay, that's kind of what I'm looking for, but I just know now that it's hard to find if it gets sent out for ask for more information.
And that one I'm not positive about.
Can you reassign it if you are wanting official approval to move it in somebody else's queue? Can you reassign it?
I haven't seen a reassign.
Okay, I didn't know. I was just asking.
Yeah, I haven't seen one.
Okay.
It's there, Vicky.
Okay,
Yeah, if you do the right click on the purchase order,
on the purchase order. I was
I'm sorry, on the requisition.
right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in your actions menu.
See, I didn't see. Yeah,
Oh,
that's why I'm in as Eric, because some of the things that I could do, I couldn't do here.
Yeah. Actually, I think you were right. It might be in the initial summary window. Can we go
Okay.
back to that and look?
Sure thing.
So, within the approval, if you see at the actions,
Yeah, there it is. Reassign.
Delegate, there, reassign. Okay, there you go, Teresa.
Okay. I just didn't know. Now, if they reassigned it, because let's say Christy wanted someone specific to review and approve it, because she maybe was doing a purchase rec on behalf of somebody or whatever, and they specifically wanted that person to approve it. If she reassigns it would the workflow show that person now has it, or would it still show Christy? Like where?
Man, we played with workflow so long ago, you're really stumping me. I'm going to have to call my experts.
Okay, well, we can come back to that. I just,
yeah. So reassign will show explicitly, and say if Christy delegates or reassigns it to someone, then the workflow will show that it has gone to them. Yeah, it will be explicit, and even later, if someone sees the requisition approval history, the reassign will show up there. So there is tracking on that as well.
And then I think Teresa also asked about fund check. You would not get it if it fails fund check. If it's one that has what is it? It doesn't totally fail, not the absolute, the other one. There's actually on what I remember seeing is on your notification, there's like, it shows up with this kind of it passed with warning. So you can actually see that there's an issue there.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you wanted to show them that button or that they could click on, fund check if they needed to know any information, or maybe that's changed since then.
My thought was from a, for the fiscal analyst, that's probably good. For the administrators, that's probably a little bit more than they would want to get into. But help me find that one, Rona. I'm getting there.
So just to add here, like if the funds check is all okay, then that doesn't appear in the workflow, the notification. But if there is a warning, then it shows up. So
It's like a yellow caution thing that shows up. It's real obvious.
Yeah. So I was just letting them know that function is there, that they could go to funds check.
Okay, so I did the right click to get into the requisition, and up at the top, there's a place for check funds. I think I clicked that one and I didn't quite understand the message on this one. There are no lines eligible.
So the funds check is already done, Vicky, in this case.
Okay, so you can't check funds after it has been submitted for approval?
So if you see here, the fund status shows reserved in that case. So it's already happened, and you can always click on reserved to check out the details, like how much it took, say from the budget and what budget is it. So you can always go back and look at the details, but it's in the workflow, and we don't need another fund check at this point of time, because it was already done at the time of the requisition submission.
So from a fiscal analyst standpoint, if I happen to have one that had a warning, where would I go to see what my warning was?
So you can click on the requisition, the hyperlink, and there it will take you to the reserved, when you go to the requisition. So in the fund status, you see it as reserved. You can click on that.
All right, that's what you were after, Teresa. So it's under okay, let's go back where we were. It's under the fund status. You can't check funds now. It's already reserved.
Okay.
But you can see.
Okay.
And when this is flipped over to the budget, like instead of the transaction view, if we flip over to the budget view, it shows like against the budget how much like what has been the consumption.
Okay.
Yeah. This shows the available versus the consumption as part of this requisition, and this will be useful for fiscal analysts.
All righty. Good questions. I knew you all were going to stump me. Right. What's next?
Those are all the questions for now, Vicki.
All right.
Oh, actually, sorry. I think there's, I didn't scroll down far enough. Okay, so Chris Brown was asking, is the reason why we right click so that we don't leave the main screen?
Yes.
Yeah, the reason why we right click is because, when you click on the notification, a window pops up, and then if you just do a normal click on the requisition link, the window changes. So then the screen where you approve from goes away. So
and you
we
come right back here and have to start all over again.
Exactly.
And I was thinking, if I'm somebody like one of the administrators that has a lot of requisitions that hit at one time, I'm likely to forget which requisition I had just looked at. So yeah. I wanted to make sure that we knew how to not come back to where we started.
Yes.
Okay, I understand. So if you click that approve requisition right there, it's gonna take me to another screen where I can't approve it on that screen, right? Is that what you're
Okay, so
saying?
let me show you what happens. If I just click instead of right click,
hmm
where did it go? It's probably down here. It just totally went away.
Yeah, something weird just happened.
It did. It blinked and left.
You broke it.
I did. So if I if I clicked on this one and it actually comes through. Okay, when I hit done, then I had to hit done again. Then I ended up here and I had to X out and it brought me right back here.
Oh, there's no way to approve on the screen that you've got the data on. That's where it's gonna that's what's different about current that we got to get used to. Okay.
So that's what I
Okay.
said, excuse me, when we got to this one, please remember to right click or you're going to get kind of frustrated.
Yeah. And then I know my next two questions were very quick. Is as far as the requisitioners, they can attach any type of file. Is there any kind okay, so any type of file. And then my last question was, and we probably went over this again. So let's say somebody calls me and says, because we sometimes get this in budget. Hey, I got a requisition out there. I thought it was in budget queue, but I don't know where it's at. Are they able to? Is there some type of search for, like, I can go in and search for like a requisition number if they have it, and it'll tell me whose desk it's on. I think we've kind of covered that, but
Right.
maybe we haven't.
That's part of the inquiry that is next week, next Friday.
Next Friday. Okay, that's all I need to know. Okay,
Yep.
I just want to know if it's able to be done. So thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
to keep you from having to answer their questions, as a requisitioner, they can click on their own requisition and find out who it's been approved by and where it's sitting. So you don't have to look that up for them.
Thank God. Thank you.
Yeah, after we're through, we've only got 2 more topics and they're short. We can come back and I can get out of here and see if I can find I'm still working through those slides for next week. See if we can find the inquiry just so you can see that it's still there, that it's there. If that would give you a little bit of help for right now. Any more questions on requisition approval? All right, the next one we're going to do is a change order. So right now, change orders do not come back to the departments. They request them and you get an email that says, this has been done pending CFO approval. I mean, the buyers have to type you an email and send it. Now, change orders are going to go through workflow. Woohoo! Woohoo! And you can clearly see change order. And it has a dash beside it. So this is the first change order. So I'm going to click on that to review it. There we go. I really love this feature. It is so clear. Look at that. Change order approval. My new contract is $1,500,000. It's a tally. Debbie's the one who did the change order. She said she added additional funds. I can go down here and it shows me that she added $500,000. And the same thing, you've got your tracking of who's seen it, the requisition number, the project number, since this one's construction, the project number, the task number, the charge account number. I just love this. And the same things, you're going to have the ability to approve, reject, request. It works just like the other one did. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because after you get past the first thing, they all kind of behave similarly. Does anybody have questions on change orders?
Yes, if the change order, because she added the 500, made it go over budget, would it give a warning?
I think it's going to behave the same way as if it was an absolute. It's not going to give you a warning. It's not going to let it go. This would be a project, so it's going to be controlled by your project.
Okay, so if Debbie increased it 500 and they only had 400, I mean, well, I'm just saying, I didn't know if well, this is actually changing the budget, so no, it's the purchase order. So if that 500 would now make that change order go over, it would somehow get some kind of flag or a warning, depending on what.
It's gonna depend on how
Yeah.
that budget's controlled, whether it's an
Right.
absolute, whether it's a
Whether
warning,
it's a warning.
or whether it's a project.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Right. And one of the things that's different is notice that a requisition now is an REQ, a purchase order is now a PUR. And one more thing that's different. Where we're used to seeing releases against a blanket, you have the blanket number with a dash. Now you're going to get a brand new PUR number for every release. So that'll be a little bit different. The dashes are reserved for change orders, I think. Okay, any more questions on change orders? I love this piece. I'm so glad this is going through the system.
And likewise, this is Frida. Likewise with the change orders, there are attachments, right? Or is there, because it will be coming to CFO pool. Well, never mind. It's going to reject if there's not enough budget. I'm good with that.
Right, and I'm not
The
sure.
change orders, if it's based on a resolution or something like that,
It should be attached, right?
I think it will probably be okay.
We don't have one attached here.
That's fine. Where's I'm using my mouse like you can see me rolling on the screen. I thought I remember seeing it at one point, but that could have been another.
Yeah, on a
Could have been
purchase
something
order, if you
else.
scroll on down, there's a whole section that has notes and attachments. But I don't, oh, looky there. We did have one on this one.
That's the original, Vicki. I didn't attach anything to the change order, but Frida, you're going to get the same information if Vicki goes back and you see where it says added additional funds. There is a section in the purchase order where I can put information that tells you exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
You are correct. I remember you telling me that, and we looked at that once. Okay.
Yes. See the change.
Many moons ago, but I do remember that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The change description, that's a field that I can, or any buyer can put information into what they're changing, why it's being changed. And of course, you can add an attachment if you need to.
Okay.
Okay. So what I was afraid of, I'm working on my laptop, which is usually not the best way to do all of this stuff. So let me get back here. All right. We only have one topic left, and that is when you have a purchase order that's more than the requisition that was approved by the department. And the only way that you can see that is it says approved purchase order. And if you are in departmental workflow, that's the only time that you'll see a purchase order. This one does not really give you much information. Where did it go? It did it again. Look at that. All right, it's opening now. It's just the purchase order, and I really couldn't tell what, if I were in your shoes, what I would see, how I would know. And Debbie and Rona and I kind of said, maybe this is the time you to go, okay, I've got this purchase order. You request information, say, what changed? Either that, or you're going to have to open the requisition and compare the two. So I'm not sure what I'm missing on helping you out on this one, other than that you'll see it again. Exactly what you'll see and how you'll know what you're seeing, I'm not sure. And I don't like those answers, but.
Right. In this case, where the buyer would be, let's say, adding, adding additional quantity or something like that, and then it would go back through the workflow. The buyer does have the ability to add comments. So I think that should just be like a standard operating procedure where they indicate that, so that the department approvers can, you know, kind of pinpoint what's going on. But yes, I would agree with you, Vicki, that just being able to request more information in case the buyer doesn't include that information when they're processing the change order.
Yeah, this one's not a change order. This is just, I said my requisition, I estimated it was going to cost $10,000 and it cost $12,000. How am I going to see as a department that I've now got an additional $2,000 hit to my budget?
Right. Thanks for
Yeah.
clarifying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one, I'm just letting you know that it's coming. You will be getting this in your workflow, exactly how we're going to figure out how to give you good information to know why you're seeing it again and how much more it is. I don't have the answers. Okay, any more questions while we're in Oracle? I wanted to get out to just a couple of topics and then we are done.
There's a couple questions in the chat. Christy
Okay.
Creel asked, do you know what the timeout rules are going to be?
Oh my goodness, that's been months ago.
3 days.
3 days.
3
working days. And it,
Correct.
I believe it does take into account weekends and holidays. So it's 3 working days.
Yes, Vicky, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Jim Holloway asks, how does the change order relate to the bid amount?
Your purchase order is what relates to your bid amount. So a change order is when something happens beyond that original PO from your bid. Did that answer your question, Jim? Okay, I didn't hear from Jim. Okay, I'm going to get out of here and go back to this. Wanted to cover basically, oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to cover basically how important your approvals are. You really should be checking your approvals every day. In this system, as you saw, you can scroll down and you can see where it is and how long it's been sitting there. So there's a high visibility of approvals and delay in approvals. So you really want to be coming in every day and keeping your queue clean. Please. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, Vicky, I'm so sorry. I meant to ask you this when you said 3 days. Is that 3 days per approval pass? So administrator 3 days, director 3 days, budget 3 days. Is it 3 days per approval? Like once it drops in there, is it 3 or 3 and is it just 3 altogether at the start of the requisition?
I'm pretty sure that it's for each step along the way.
Okay.
Each approval. That's correct,
So
Vicki. Each
Gotcha. So if we have if budget has an issue with something, then we need to be moving it. If we move it and ask for request information, does our 3 days start over? Or I know that's probably too in the weeds, but that might come up.
It's a good
Well,
question, though.
You hold off on that. I'll let you finish, and then we can come back to that afterwards.
Well, no, well, we are here. Go ahead. Rona or Shri, do you know if it's requesting information in the middle of one of the buckets? Does it take the time out of the bucket and start again, or is it still within that 3 days? You stumped
I'm
me.
going to go out on a limb and say that you're requesting information, you're not sending it to someone else for approval. If you don't get the information and get it approved within those 3 days, it's going to time out. Shri, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
That would be my gut feeling, that your request information is within that 3 days. But you
Yes,
may
Vicky,
stump
that's
them
correct.
out.
So we are not handing over the workflow to someone. It's just an interim request for information. So that's within the 3 day window.
If you reassign it, does the person you reassigned it to have 3 days? And then when they send it back to you, then does the 3 days start over then?
Yes, so when we reassign to someone, there 3 days, the clock starts on the time they reassign it. And typically, when you do a reassign, they if they reassign back to you, yeah, then your clock starts again.
Right. So if it does delay and it does time out, the requisitioner would need to start over again, or they just hit like a resubmit button that will put it back into flow, so they don't have to start over again type situation.
They don't have to re-enter it. They can just resubmit it. And
Gotcha.
just talking about resubmitting, anytime a requisition times out or is rejected, it starts the whole workflow process over again. So administrators and fiscal analysts, you may see requisitions multiple times just due to timeouts or rejections.
Hey, Vicky or Debbie, in relation to that, if indeed it does time out, go back to the requisitioner to resubmit again, is there not anything, or should it be something placed in notes indicating that this is being resubmitted due to timeout? Because as an administrator coming back through to reapprove something that you've already approved, there may be question that, I want to make sure I'm not duplicating something. So
Does the workflow in any way demonstrate that it timed out and it started again, Sheree? When you scroll, I'm wondering if when you scroll down and you can see all the approvals, the approval workflow notifications are fantastic in the bottom.
But if it times out and has to start again, does it retain all those prior approvals in the notes to just give you an indication that this is being resubmitted again?
Tony, it starts the workflow over, and you can see the entire process from the original beginning up until the date you receive it again. So you can scroll back, just roll down and see what's happened during the process of the workflow.
Okay, so it's retaining all that prior information, and you'll see that it timed out and then started again.
Like in this case, you would see Lisa resubmitted it.
Yes, it'll say, it'll have, you can see Lisa's original submission and any approvals that took place. And then you'll see again, Lisa submitting it again. So all of those flow with the requisition. None of them disappears. They all stay there, and you can see those.
I think you'll really, like I said, you can, why I said this top one, you really need to be going into your system and into the system and doing your approvals every day, because there is high visibility of who held it up, and you don't want to be that person.
If it comes to, let's say, the budget group, and we feel that it's been charged, so let's say the wrong account number, wrong cost center, or so forth, and we reject it, it'll go back to the requisitioner. I'm assuming we would add notes of why we were rejecting it, correct?
Correct.
And then they would get a message somehow. I mean, they would get some kind of notification that this was rejected. They would go in, read our notes. They can fix it right there on the fly and then resubmit it. Is that correct? And that follows the workflow.
That's correct.
Okay.
And to piggyback off of Teresa's question, in this, so now when they submit a requisition, it's doing a funds check. Is that correct? Which means at some point, and you may have already gone over this, it's reserving the funds. So if I have a project and I only have a certain budget of let's say $500,000, and I'm doing a requisition for $500,000, it reserves the money right then. But let's say it times out. Once it times out, it's going to release that budget back as well. Is that correct? Because right now, I think in our current system, the budget is reserved when the purchase order is approved, not at the requisition level, but now it's reserving the funds at the requisition level in real time. Is that correct?
I think as soon as the requisitioner puts it into workflow, it reserves funds. It doesn't wait for the approval to happen.
Right. And then if it times out or is rejected, it releases those funds back. It doesn't still
Yes.
hold them up.
That's what we're
That's
asking.
correct.
Okay, that's all I need. Okay.
It does.
And then once, if the requisition is going to reserve the dollars, and then once the PO is made, it swaps it to where it's no longer a reserve from the requisition, it's now a reserve against the PO. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah. And we did test that one pretty extensively early on. So I really love the functionality of reserving your budget all the way through the process.
I'm
Returning it and re-reserving it. It's pretty nice.
good. I'm loving this.
Yeah, I am really thrilled with most of the functionality that we are doing. Let's finish up this slide and then we'll finish up the rest of the questions. As far as making sure that you are approving, please take extra care to look at the accuracy. Don't leave it for the next person, because whatever is in the requisition is what is going to be seen by the suppliers. We're using a supplier portal, and the buyers are not fixing requisitions. They are going out to be sourced in the portal. So when there's bad spelling, when there are notes that are a little shouldn't be public purview, when descriptions are not adequate to know what you're buying, somebody along the line is going to reject it and start it all over again, which is going to be, like it says, workflow begins again and equals a waste of everybody's time. So please take the responsibility when it comes to you to make sure that this requisition is what it needs to be for the supplier to see it. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vicky,
Okay.
there's a couple more questions in the chat. Cynthia Patrick said, where do you enter vacation rules?
Oh, yeah, now that is not necessarily this one. That was part of the.
That was part of the general, wasn't it?
That was part of the general navigation. If
Oh,
somebody-
so it's not like a separate one for the approver needs to set a vacation rule, or
So if somebody can help me, I'm back to Eric's homepage. Where do I go to set vacation rules? I'm guessing it's someplace in here. Help me out, somebody.
You can type it into your search. Asterisk.
Oh, these were not asterisks. These were stars. These were stars, weren't they?
or percent sign?
I
Was
thought
it-
they were stars up
I
here.
don't-
I think it's the asterisk.
That's the asterisk.
Yeah.
I thought
No
she
longer-
said a star,
Well, some people refer to the
It's
asterisk as
asterisk.
a star.
Right.
a percentage.
It's
an
not a
asterisk.
percent.
It's
No,
not
it's
percent
not a
anymore.
percent.
Yeah, we don't use percent anymore.
Oh, we do in the other.
Not an
It-
ex.
it-
It's not an
All
ex.
kinds of stuff.
It's the star. It's the star, Vicky.
Yeah,
the
it's not
star.
the exclamation point.
Not exclamation, but asterisk, which people refer to as a star.
Okay, yeah, I thought that's what I was typing, sorry. And now I've still got that. I really do not navigate well on my laptop. All right, so somebody better than me is gonna have to do this because I'm not gonna be here when this goes live, so I didn't pay attention to vacation rules.
So,
Don't say that. Don't say that.
According to my notes, vacation settings are you go to your bell icon and click on notifications, show all.
I would have thought it'd been under your initials.
In work list.
Work list, looky there.
Work list, select name, preferences, vacation period.
Natalie, look at you. Okay,
Natalie
so
took notes.
okay, the next thing you said was actions.
Work list, select name preferences, vacation period.
Work list. That's not.
So you are in the work list, Vicky, already. So when you click on beside the name Eric Asbo, I believe you'll be able to see the preferences.
Oh, I have to go back up.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have
When
to
you
go
click
back
on the
up
drop,
here.
yeah, drop down.
Okay, Cynthia, we're getting there.
There you go.
All right, then your start and end date, whether you're reassigning and delegating, and
Right. And
she
that's
went
it.
through the difference between those. Thank you, Natalie.
Vicky, Jim responded to your answer to his initial question in the chat. And he says that your answer did not answer his question. His question was, will you be able to proceed if the bid amount is increased after approval has been made and the bidder finds he could not do what you asked for at the price he presented?
Debbie, I'm going to call in my lifeline.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you don't just increase the contract because they couldn't do what they wanted to. I think you're back to square one.
That's what it
Yeah,
sounds
you are.
like.
You're back to square one. If you put out a bid and you create a PO, and then the supplier comes back and says, no, I can't do that for that price, well, the buyer has to get back with that particular supplier simply because they can't just increase a price because they, so that's something that would be handled offline out of Oracle.
Yeah, change orders need to be within the scope of the contract that we have.
Change orders would be for things like, let's just use construction because I'm very familiar with that. For contingency increase, for contingency that needs to be added, or for change orders that have been approved by council, those type things. Quantity changes, let's just say you ordered 5 and a supplier shipped you 6, and you decided that you needed to keep the 6, so we would do a change order to pay for that additional item. Or account changes. There are various reasons, but nothing to do with the bid itself.
Okay, Jim, I hope that worked. If that didn't answer your question, send it back through the chat and we'll try again. Okay, I think we got Cynthia's on the delegations. Okay, Jim says, yes, it did. All right. I greatly appreciate the huge team working on this today and helping answer the questions. Does anybody else have questions?
Yes. Christy had one that said, currently I can make changes when I approve a requisition. Will I still be able to do this, or only the requisitioner can make the changes?
Oh, did we talk about that one?
No, ma'am, Christy, you cannot make changes to a requisitioner. A requisition, you have to send it back to the requisitioner.
That also means the MBA staff, if we see wrong things as well, correct?
We're just going to read
That's correct. The only person that can edit or do anything to a requisition is the requisitioner themselves.
We're really working on the tenet that requisitioners should learn to get their stuff correct on the front end, and if it's wrong, they need to understand what's wrong and fix it.
Vicky, there was one more question from Jason Silvers related to can we sort by the initiator name? Unfortunately, there's no, like at least in the initial screen, it comes up as per the timestamp, and so you will not be able to sort it, but you will be able to search by the requisitioner name.
Okay, so I don't have, so I could just do, is this where I do the star and the Williams? Whoops, that was a dollar sign, not a, shoot, Vicky.
Just like say Lisa or Debbie, it looks for the initial stuff like
It's the first name.
yeah. So the star does not work here, Vicky. If you just remove all that and just type like say Debbie or Lisa, yeah. This is not a very um okay. So this is so like if you can come out of this window or one level back, Vicky. The search is not very complex here. It's a very simple search. We need to see what is possible. So if you click on show all again.
Okay.
It comes back to the screen. So this search is not very, I would say, comprehensive. So like it's the suggestion is to say review it every day and keep it as few as possible so that you don't have a long list to scroll through.
But I hear what you're saying from the budget pool. You're getting a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, not only that, the administrators get a lot at once too. I mean, Public Works, for instance, I mean, they are by and large the biggest department that we get at least 50 or 75 at one time.
Correct.
So yeah, that I thought we had visited a search function once before, but I must have missed the next session where it said no, we can't. So yeah, that's not good for us.
We can
And
find a way.
other
we can
and
figure out
those
the
others,
magic.
you know, looking at them after in their pool.
Yeah, if there's a way we can figure that one out, that would be wonderful.
So yeah, you're able to say differentiate between say action required and FII. Like if you click on action and if there are FIIs, you'll be able to like differentiate between those. But there are some limitations to the screen. Yeah.
Okay. Well, everything was really positive. But yeah, I mean that's where real life is going to be a little bit different than what all the testing is going to be. And I know eventually we'll figure out how to do workarounds, but so much of the workflow I really do like in this one. All right, if there are no more questions, you know where to find us. And as things go live, the first, I guess it's the beginning of the second week of July, please reach out when you have questions.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know from a sorting aspect, can you sort by the oldest first?
I
So
think
like,
it comes in.
like if looking at these, if I had like 100 of them out there, you know, could I have 3 weeks be on top versus the 3 days ago? 'Cause the oldest is always on top. Is that
So Teresa, this one is like the newest on top. So if you want to like sort it out, Vicky, if you can please click on the work list, it takes you to one more level deeper. And this screen is more if you want to do things like sorting, and this screen is much more friendly. So Vicky, if you can please maximize this. So Teresa, like you can take advantage of this screen. Like if you click on I believe assigned, it you're able to bring the sorry Vicky, on the column which says assigned towards the right.
Okay.
I believe yeah, this one helps you to sort, so you'll be able to bring up the earlier ones first.
You can up and down.
So that actually does help us. This is the screen that we needed.
Looky here.
We have to sort by creator because the budget team has different departments that we're assigned to, and
That's
so we always look at the person. So this is where we need to be right here, and then Vicky,
Yes.
we can right click from right here and then open it up and then approve it from right here. That's what we need to see.
Yes, Chris. Like say, Vicky, if you please select or highlight and then click on actions, you can do pretty much. So actions little above. Yeah, you can do pretty much what you have been doing in the past screens,
Yeah, but
like
they
approve.
need
But
to
they would need
open
to
it.
open it. So could
Yeah,
we
they
right
need to.
So is it a click or a right click?
So you can click here.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
Click.
it
Oh, okay.
opens in a new window. Yeah. So
And I'll maximize so I can't see the window.
I think it went to the bottom, maybe.
I think it would have gone to your other screen, Vicky.
I've got a single screen. I'm trying to figure out how to drag this down. Hang on. I don't see where it went.
what? Oh no.
My laptop's behaving bizarrely. You saw how I clicked on something and it just totally went
But you
away.
just clicked it instead of right clicked it, right? Is that what you did?
I think I clicked it. Let's try a right click. Right click doesn't seem to be open. There we go.
Okay, and then we would have to right click again to see the overarching details,
And we
and
would
then
have to
or
right
we could
Yeah.
or we
Is
could
that what
approve from right here. Okay, that's what we need. So for us to see, like for us to sort through what we need to sort through or filter, which I actually like that other screen a lot. That's more than what we have right now. We just need to we need to be approving in work list. But for folks who have maybe smaller departments that they don't approve a whole lot of stuff, they can really go to the bell icon for
One of the
theirs.
things I didn't say is there is at the bottom, there's a PDF of this requisition if that's easier than right clicking and opening a window.
That is very helpful.
That's extremely helpful.
That's
I
extremely
should have
helpful.
said that one, shouldn't I?
That's
Well,
perfect right there.
Well, I mean, we're learning as we're going through this, but I
Thank
agree.
you, Tony.
This is extremely helpful here.
Yes,
That reduces the number of clicks and
it
goes
does.
to it.
And where did I lose my? All right. So that was at the very bottom with
And
the
also, Vicky,
requester.
and also, Vicky, they can have multiple screens of this open. I mean, they can have different tabs. So if you've got two screens, you could have one of the screens on one tab on one screen and the other tab on another.
Right.
And whichever works better for you.
Yes. I'm just working from this little laptop today, so.
That'll teach you.
Well,
Well,
we're
Vicky,
definitely learning as we go.
Yep.
Just as a FYI for the buyers that are on the call, you'll be having to approve your requisitions from this work list as well, simply because it's done by department. So you'll need to be reviewing and approving there.
Okay, so where we went to the work list to be able to pull up, to be able to sort. Thank you, Sri. That helps.
I'm gonna throw one wrench in here for AST later. It would be very useful in the future if they were able to put department in like this. I think this is a form, I'm guessing. It would be helpful if we could add department. If you can, it's fine. You can go by name, but that would be helpful. Just some suggestions in the future.
So I wanted to point out, I don't know, Chris, that we have department available, but Vicky, if you can click the pencil icon next to the word views, here you can add additional columns to be viewed. So you can customize this work list screen to include other information that you might find helpful.
So these are the available columns.
Do you make that public or is that a private? And I'm basing it off of what I had seen in GL this morning, where you could add columns and you could make it public or private.
So
is it
yes,
customizable
we
to
can,
the person, or we could do it system wide?
Yeah, we can make it as a
group,
public view.
Okay.
So yeah, Freda, and especially the budget team, I see over time that this screen, you're wanting to see a screen like this, and so you are able to personalize the screen and say create views that you actually need. So I created some document with screenshots for Debbie earlier in the project. I'll share it with especially like the budget team. and like that will kind of guide you step by step how to create these views which you can use for your day-to-day work. I'll
Okay.
share
I
that
think
later.
That would
it'll
be
be very
beneficial.
helpful. It'll be very helpful if I know for the buyers who have specific departments and for budget, and maybe like for areas like public works where Christy may have to sort, through fleet or whatever to see what she needs to approve at a certain point. So
Right.
that's very helpful.
Thank you, Chris.
All righty, we are over time, y'all. I thought we were going to be short. But you had so many good questions, and I greatly appreciate the participation. All righty, well, thank you very much for working with us today. And Sheree and Rona and Debbie, thank you for the teamwork. Couldn't do it without you.
Thank you all, and have a nice day.
Bye-bye.